Well, hello there, my friends. Today we're going to tell you how to turn anger into peace and power. A bit of Zen. We're going to bring a bit of Zen energy. Zenergy is what we're going to deal with. Bit of Zen energy. That's what I'm going to give you. So the first thing is, if you're feeling pissed off, if you're feeling anger, then that's a good thing. It's a good thing. Why is anger a good thing? Well, it's a good thing because anger is a motivating force. So let's start from the beginning. That in the world that I play in, every emotion is positive. Energy in motion, emotion, energy in motion. And what anger is a wake up call. It's a wake up call. It's your wake up call, folks. And if you haven't been feeling angry about stuff in the past, well, maybe that hasn't been amplified to this level. So anger is a good thing. Let's start with that. Now, there's two ways to express anger. Well, there's quite a few ways, but we're going to talk about two. So we're going to talk about the productive resolution of issues around anger and the unproductive resolution of issues. Now, what's the unproductive resolution of issues? Well, let's keep violence out of it for now, because especially you blokes, and I felt a little bit myself lately, I've resisted, just so you know, folks, just so you know. Me, I haven't thrown a punch in anger in almost 40 years. I'm just going to say that off the bat, but it doesn't mean that I haven't felt like it. But the point being that that expression of anger is not productive. That's not what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about you taking an empowered view about anger, how it's showing up in your life, and being able to do something about it. And this is the crucial element, folks, the crucial part of the puzzle that I'm about to tell you that is not going to be dependent on anyone else doing anything. That's the point. Unrealistic expectations is where most anger festers. Most anger festers. Now, if you're a regular on the channel, you'll have seen my videos on tolerance. You'll have seen my interview with my friend Alan Sharland, where we talked about tolerance, anger, how anger can manifest into positive things if it's channeled productively. Anger's a wake-up call, folks. It's a wake-up call. Now, tolerance is festering anger. We've talked about that in previous videos. So if you've been putting up with stuff, you've been tolerating stuff, you've been letting bad behaviors go, we especially do this in the family. In the family might be work situations where you feel that you're powerless to do anything, you're tolerating bad behavior. Things are festering, folks. They're festering, and you feel it rise within you. You feel you're getting less tolerant. You feel a bit of road rage is starting to slip into your world now. Yeah, a bit more road rage. It's expressing in unproductive ways. You're less tolerant with complete strangers because you're tolerating the frequent flyers, the people that are doing this to you regularly. This is your wake up call, folks. This is the wake up call. What this is. You've been putting up with it so long that energetically your heart has stopped beating. And anger is the paddles putting on your body going boom. That's what's happening, folks. Anger rises until wake up, wake up, my friend, wake up. So let's look at the things that cause you anger in the moment. So we can talk about some societal things, but I'm going to suggest that these are superficial. These are actually helping us to bring it to the surface. So things that are happening in society at the moment, unfairness, two-tier policing. We're seeing lots of non-positive news, lots of paedophilia going on at the moment. There's all sorts of things to press your buttons, folks. Press your buttons, but these aren't the issues. Unless you've been directly affected by this yourself, then these aren't your issues. They're just bringing your issues to the surface. And in many ways, these are a distraction from your issues. You're channeling your anger possibly into stuff that you can do nothing about because you're not dealing with the source. So today we're going to address the source. We're going to give you a technique that can help move you through this. And we're also going to get you to take control of this situation so that you have complete control over it. Now, this is going to involve discomfort, folks, because in any situation, there is an element of secondary gain. Now, secondary gain is a very pernicious element, which you probably don't want to look at the moment, which is fine. Most people don't. Most people don't want to look at secondary gain. And what is secondary gain? It means a hidden outcome where you're getting something out of having a problem in place. Getting something out of having a problem in place. So let's look at secondary gain, the bigger picture. Let's give an example of secondary gain. You might be tolerating a bad relationship at the moment because maybe it's giving you a place to live. Maybe someone else is paying the rent, maybe the bully, the person that's causing all your problems. You've got a place to live. You've got a nice little safe zone. And if you had to end it, if you had to walk away, that would mean you'd have to find somewhere else. And that is an issue. And so instead of dealing with it, you're going to tolerate it. That's secondary gain, folks. That's a classic example of secondary gain. You're in a relationship, but there's a financial element, so you won't move out. You're tolerating a family situation. If it's your parents, it may be the fear that you're cut out of the inheritance if you don't do exactly what you're told, folks. Exactly what you're told. Every click, you become a slave to the money. This happens quite a lot, folks. Secondary gain. Secondary gain. We tolerate bad behavior because of secondary gain. And that is part of the issue here. So you're going to have to work out in this exercise, what is your secondary gain and is it worth it? Because let's take tolerance, let's take anger. What is anger bringing up? Anger is going to get you to act in ways which you're maybe not proud of. It's going to make you unpopular. It's going to make you a bit of a badger, which we like a bit of a badger. We like a bit of a badger because you need to grow a backbone in this process. You need to stand up for no nonsense, folks. The trouble is, most people channel anger at the wrong people, at the wrong people. And who are the right people? The frequent flyers, the people that have been laying this on over time. And that's why it's quite frequently family members. It's often mother, father, son, daughter, brother, sister. These are people that have been in your network, been in your life for a long period of time. And you're probably trained into letting stuff go with them, letting them go. Bullying parents, bullying siblings, even bullying children, which, well, we can talk about that later. But for now, we'll talk about brother, sister, mother, father. Because with your children, well, ultimately, you have to take a lot more responsibility if they haven't turned out the way that you wanted to, folks, that you wanted to. So we're gonna deal with brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers here. And not only that, we're going to look at the work dynamic because quite often it's a boss. Quite often it's someone at work that you're letting it go. You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to lose your job. Another classic example of secondary gain, why we tolerate things, why we process anger, why anger builds, folks. It builds over time, builds over time. And if you're an empath, you have a massive capacity to deal with anger. But this is the issue. Nobody is an endless source of it. Everybody has a breaking point. And everyone will find the breaking point when we don't deal with anger, when we tolerate bad behavior, when we put up with nonsense in our world. So what anger's there to wake us up. It's there to wake us up. And what you want to do, seriously, here's an exercise. I want you to find the source, the major source. Because in therapy, we can deal with issues, side issues, the person that cut you up in the car park, the person that asked you out for a fight in the pub, the passive aggressive person at work that's always throwing barbed comments. We channel our focus on these people, but they're very rarely the cause. Ultimately, the cause is your relationship with yourself. There's where the ultimate cause is, that we learn over time, over life, to deal with terrible behavior. And that's where it sat, folks. That's where it begins. That's where it begins. So, what I want you to do right now, I want you to write down who is causing you the most anger, or what situation. What situation? It might be a person, it might be a situation. It's probably a person. You need to work out where's the cause, because you can deal with all of the subsections, the person in the car park, the person at work, all of these little things. You can focus. We can lose a lot of energy channeling our focus towards the wrong people with this. But I want you to take an empowered approach. I want you to understand where is the most force, where is the most anger coming from here. And the thing is, with family, you might have parked it, you might have put it in the background for a while. You might not have thought about it recently, but it's coming up. All of these little incidents, they're coming up for something deeper. So we need to understand where the root cause is. And absolutely, the root cause is you, your relationship with you. That's the root. But usually we blame. Blame is a horrible game. The blame game, folks. When we start pointing that one finger back, it's very cheesy, but it's right. You've got four pointing back at you. The only way that we get through this is to take a complete empowered approach and appreciate we have to start from a premise that we create our own problems and we can blame other people. But you tolerating bad behavior, you putting up with it, you having secondary gain, you not calling out bullshit for fear of ramifications, whether they be financial or emotional, or the fear of loneliness. Let's start with this. Surely, if you're in a bad situation now, surely it's better to be on your own with no people around you right now than to have to deal with all this nonsense. So that's the worst case scenario. Energetically, we close down everything around us right now in order to rebuild. You may have to rebuild. That will be traumatic. That will be difficult. You will have to cut some ties, and that can be a lonely, frightening journey. It takes a lot of courage and strength to do it. So maybe you're not ready for that yet. Maybe you're not motivated enough to have the courage and strength to do whatever it takes to stand up for yourself, to reclaim your power and your strength. And it only happens when we identify the root cause. Now, let's take an example. I'll give you my root cause, my issue with my mother. I was dealing with anger in all sorts of other areas, but until I dealt with that square on, everything else was just manifesting. More issues were coming up. And the outcome, folks, just so you know, the outcome of that, I have a narcissistic mother, and she's no empathy at all. That said pretty much the cruelest possible things that you could say. And the premise was that I tolerate it because there's been a family line of tolerating bad behavior because of inheritance. So I pretty much said, I'm done. I don't want the inheritance. Keep your inheritance. Keep your bad attitude. That's it. That's a sacrifice that not many people will be prepared to make, folks. That's the sort of sacrifice you're going to need to do if you're going to deal with this, take an empowered approach. And it doesn't mean that I don't love my mother. I know she's fucked up. She's properly fucked up by other generations of bullshit, folks. So hate the behavior, not the person. And that means the way that I process that is I don't deal with it. I don't hate her. I hate the behavior. And I'm not prepared to tolerate it. And if that costs me inheritance, well, that's her money anyway. I don't begrudge it. That's her money. Let her do with it what she wants to do with it. And there you go. Peace lies at the other side of that, but it comes at a price. Now, the question is, are you prepared to pay the price to get through this? Because if you're in a bullying relationship with a partner, for example, you may have to find a new place to live. You may have to grow a backbone and stand up for it. You may have to start saying no a lot. You may have to do a lot of uncomfortable things that you're not going to like. But if you're prepared to do it, this is how you turn anger into peace. If you don't do it, folks, let me give you the Ghost of Christmas Future. Ghost of Christmas Future is very bleak because you'll be dealing with stuff that's going to rattle you. And it's going to rattle you because the core of your being is being compromised by this situation where you're doing it for the money, you're doing it for the comfort, you're doing it because you're scared of being on your own. Well, let's look at this because I have a bit of experience in this department. Everybody dies alone, folks. You may have relatives in that room, but ultimately, death is a process that you have to go through, and everyone is going to get there in the end. And the only thing that matters there is your relationship with yourself. Now, if that's good, the odds are there's going to be a lot of people in that room that care about you. If it's not, it's likely to be a very lonely room. And I've seen that time and time and time again. I've seen crowded rooms full of people that don't really care about the person, but they do and care about the inheritance. Care about the inheritance. Caring people. You see the very worst part of humanity working as a nurse when people are about to die, folks. And I have a lot of experience in that. And I always said to myself, I said it to my sister, that is very welcome to everything. You know, we're not going to fall out over this. I'm not going to let her play this game. And I haven't, folks. I haven't. So there you go. Compromise, compromise, giving stuff up, letting stuff go, letting stuff go. Now, I'm not going to say this has been easy. Yeah, I was angry for a long time. Angry at the situation, angry that someone could be so cruel, angry that there are people that are that fucked up in the world, quite frankly, folks. That was my issue. That was what I had to go through. But once I took back my power, once I grew a backbone, once I said my piece and stood up for myself, and once I decided what I absolutely wasn't prepared to tolerate anymore, and I got it off my chest, now I can live a lot more free, aligned life where I'm making better choices for myself. I'm attracting better people into my network, and opportunities are starting to open up. And that happens from moving through this very uncomfortable process. And you have to decide, A, what's your secondary gain? You have to know that, folks. Why are you not doing what you know you need to do? Until you know that, you're deluding yourself. You'll be chasing your tail around. You have to identify your secondary gain because there's something stopping you. And if you believe that it's someone else, that you're doing it for someone else, then that's a delusion because your own energy is the main thing here. You have to take responsibility for it. And if your energy is plummeting down and you're saying, I'm doing it for someone else, if that someone else actually cares about you, they won't want you to do that. And maybe they say they would right now, but in the long term, no, they won't. Maybe they don't understand if there's kids involved. That's the worst case scenario I can think of. There's kids involved. A lot of people say we'll stay in a bad relationship because of the kids. You ain't doing them any favors, folks, staying in a non-harmonious relationship. They'll get through it. They'll hit 17 eventually, and then they'll have complete control of their own destiny. And maybe it is their destiny to have that pain in the first part of their life so they can go and do what they need to do. Pressure creates diamonds, my friend. We look at pain, we judge it. People with a silver spoon in their mouth, do you really want to end up like them? Is that the life path that you were looking for? Every bit of pain that you've had is who you are. And that is why you're going to do what you're going to do. That's how you're going to make a difference in the world because you're going to understand the pain of others. You're going to understand what it's all about. It's an experience. And ultimately, we get older, we get more decrepit. As life goes on, it gets harder. That's the reality of it, folks. So you have to make the most of now. because the you in 20 years, if you're still alive in 20 years, is going to look back at the you now and think, you were so lucky there. I wish I wasn't as fucked up in the head. I wish I'd enjoyed my life more. I wish I'd been a bit more fearless. I wish I'd been freer. I wish that I'd done this. I wish I told that person to fuck off. And the reason I can tell you this is because I was the person counseling those people at the end of life, folks. I heard this time and time and time again of what people should have done, not appreciating what they had when they had it. You don't appreciate what you've got till you lose it. It's like money, health, same thing. But with money, you can get that back. With your health, you can't, folks. You can't. You will never be able to reclaim your youth. So you have to. Today is the youngest day you'll ever be. It's the youngest day of the rest of your life. And if you live to a grand old age, the odds are you're going to get pain, you're going to be slower, you're going to be a little bit more senile, you're going to lose stuff as you move forward. So you have to appreciate the here and now. And the only way that you can appreciate the here and now is to deal with bullshit. Tough, folks. It's a tough one. It's a tough one to take today. And I know it's me on a little ramble, and I know that you might not be ready for that little ramble. But this is how you turn anger to peace. You take total ownership of everything in your life, everything that's happened, every bad behavior that's come your way, everything that you've had to tolerate, everything that you've had to deal with, all of the shit behavior, and everyone that's fucked you over. All of that's happened because your relationship with yourself is not quite right. And you're going to change that now. Going to change it by taking the biggest issue in your life and dealing with it head on. You might not be ready for that. But if you are, if you're brave enough and you want help, then put it in the comments, bring it up. Let's discuss it. That's what this forum's here for, folks, especially if you're still watching this video now. If you're still watching right now, this is for you. The energy of this video has been programmed so that you get this message. It will not resolve itself. And you have absolute power to change this like that if you want. If you want, if you're brave enough, if you're resilient enough, and if you're motivated enough. And that motivation is often anger. So, my friends, embrace your anger. Embrace whatever's going on right now, because this is going to get you through to a better place. And if you've got any questions at all, then please do. Lay them on the comments, folks. Lay them on in the comments. Share your stories, share your challenges, share your insights. If you've been through this, give words of wisdom. What was it that motivated you to take action? What was it that motivated you to click on this video, folks? Especially now. And if you're not a part of this journey, then I massively recommend that you like and subscribe to this channel, because you're going to get lots of little insights to help you along your way. That's there. And if you want more of the same from me, there's another little video there. But either way, folks, embrace your anger, because it leads to a much better place once you know how to channel it productively.